to start by graphing this system of equations, okay? And we got to figure out where the solution is. But remember, we want both of these in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to rearrange this equation right here. So I've got 5x plus y equals 4. I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. I'm going to have y equals negative 5x plus 4. Okay? My y is by itself, so that means I'm good to go. I'm going to go ahead and graph this. I know my y-intercept is 4. I can make this a negative 5 over 1, so I'm going to go down 5, right 1, because this line has to be decreasing. And I'm going to connect, that was kind of janky. I'm going to connect my points. Okay? For my second line, I've got x minus y equals negative 2. Again, I'm going to move my x first. I'm going to have a negative y equals negative x minus 2. This y might look like it's by itself, but you got to be careful. There's a negative 1 hanging out there, so I got to go divide everything by a negative 1. And I'm going to have y equals 1x plus 2. Okay, that's when you're using the fraction button in your calculator. Okay, I'm going to go start at 2. And my slope is a 1. Well, I can do a 1 over 1. Oh, sorry, y'all. This should have been a plus 2 here, which would have made this a minus 2 here. That was a mistake. So I'm actually not starting at positive 2. I'm actually starting down here at a negative 2. And my slope is a 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. And I'm going to connect. And these lines do, in fact, intersect. Okay, and they intersect. If you just give me this graph tomorrow, you're going to point off because I need to know the solution, which is 1, negative 1, because you need your x and then your y. All right, number 2, we're going to graph this first line right here. My y-intercept is a negative 3, so I'm going to start at negative 3 on my y-axis. If I want to make this a fraction, I can make it a 2 over 1, so I'm going to go up 2, right 1, because this line has to be increasing. Okay, and then I'm going to connect. All right, there's my first line. For my second line, I'm going to start, my y-intercept is 2. So I'm going to go put a point at 2. And my slope is a negative 3, so I can put that over 1. So I'm going to go down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. And I'm going to connect, and I need to see where my solution is, and your solution is where these two lines intersect. Well, and this one happens to be the same thing at 1, negative 1. All right, we're going to do the same thing on number 3. I'm going to start with my y-intercept here. My y-intercept is a 1. So I'm going to go put a point at 1 on the y-axis. Okay, and my slope is this 4. I'm going to make that over 1. So I'm going to go up 4, right 1. Okay, now I could also go down 4, left 1. That would still be increasing, and I'm going to connect my points. All right, on the second one, my y-intercept is a negative 2. So I got to go put a point at negative 2 on the y-axis. And my slope, there's not a number here, but I'm going to put a 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1. Well, y'all, if I keep going this direction, which is the correct direction because it's increasing, I'm not going to get to this line. But I can go down 1, left 1, and I will see where these two lines intersect, which is at the point negative 1, negative 3. All right. Looking at number 4, it wants me to solve it by substitution. Well, y'all, anytime it gives you that they're both equal to y, you're just going to set them equal to each other. So I'm going to set negative 2x plus 7 equal to negative 4x plus 15. Okay? To solve this equation, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And I'm going to have 7 equals negative 2x plus 15. I'm going to subtract my 15 over. We have a negative 8 equals negative 2x. Divide both sides by a negative 2. And I'm going to have x equals 4. Okay? But I need an x and a y, so this 4 is going to be substituted back in right here for that x. So in my calculator, I'm going to do negative 2 parentheses 4 plus 7. When I put that in my calculator, you're going to get a negative 1. Remember, you need to write your answer as an ordered pair, so I'm going to have 4 comma negative 1. All right, on number 5, okay, this is when we're going to figure out what variable's by itself. Well, I see that my y is all by itself, so I'm going to highlight this guy right here. We're not going to let this fraction freak us out. Okay, our calculator is going to do all the work. So if this is what y equals, I need to come highlight y in my second equation. Okay, I'm going to rewrite my second equation as negative 7x plus 8 parentheses 1 over 3x plus 1 equals negative 5. All right, so we're going to not freak out over this fraction because our calculator is going to do all the work. I'm going to distribute an 8. I'm going to have a negative 7x plus, when I do 8 times 1/3 in your calculator, you're going to get 8 over 3x plus 8 equals negative 5. Okay, from here, we're going to combine our like terms. We're not going to freak out. We're going to put negative 7 plus 8 over 3 in our calculator, and you should get, hold up, 8 over 3, negative 13 over 3. So I'm going to have a negative 13 over 3x minus 8 equals negative 5. Okay, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Oh, sorry, this should be a positive 8. So I'm not going to add 8. I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to subtract 8. And I'm going to get a negative 3 over 13x equals negative 13. Okay, so from here to undo division, I'm going to come in and I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I'm going to have a negative 13x, because these are going to cancel, equals negative 39. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 13. And that tells me that x is going to equal 3. All right. If my x is 3, then y'all, I'm going to substitute this back into this equation right here. And in my calculator, I'm going to do 1/3 parentheses 3 plus 1. When I put that in my calculator, you're going to end up getting 2, which means that my y is 2. Remember, you need to write your answer as an ordered pair, so I'm going to have 3 comma 2. All right, number 6, okay, I need to highlight whatever variable is by itself. So in this case, my y is by itself. So I'm going to highlight my y in this equation as well. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to have 16x minus 2 parentheses 8x plus 3 equals negative 6. All right, I'm going to distribute my negative 2. I'm going to have 16x minus 16x minus 6 equals negative 6. When I combine my like terms, I've got a positive 16 and a negative 16. Well, those are going to become 0, and I'm going to end up with negative 6 equals negative 6. Well, y'all, this is a true statement, so that tells me that my answer is going to be infinite solutions. Or we can call this all real numbers. All right? Looking at number 7, it wants me to solve by elimination. Remember, to eliminate, you have to have two things that match, but have opposite signs. When I go in and look, right now, nothing matches. But I know it's going to be a quick fix if I multiply this top equation by 2, because 2 times 5 gives me 10, and those match. But they got to have opposite signs, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything in this top equation by a negative 2. So I'm going to distribute negative 2 into my top equation. I have a negative 10x minus 2y equals negative 18. I'm going to bring down my bottom equation. 10x minus 7y equals negative 18. All right, remember, we're going to add to eliminate. And I'm just going to double check that I can do this because, yes, we are good. Those are the same coefficients, but they have opposite signs. So when I add negative 10 plus 10, that cancels. I'm going to have a negative 9y equals negative 18 plus negative 18 is a negative 36. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 9, and I'm going to get y equals 4. All right, I've got my y by itself, but I still have to go in and solve for x. So I'm going to rewrite my top equation, and everywhere there's a y, I'm going to put a 4 equals 9. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I'm going to get 5x equals 5. When I divide both sides by 5, I'm going to get x equals 1. Remember, you have to write your answer as an ordered pair, so I'm going to have 1, comma 4. All right, if I look at number 8, okay, I got to see if I have anything I can eliminate. Well, right now, nothing matches, so I'm going to flip-flop my coefficients. I'm going to multiply my top one by 5 and my bottom one by 2. They already have opposite signs, so I don't have to do anything with my signs. I'm just going to go in and distribute. So in the top, I'm going to have 10x plus 40y equals 30. And in the bottom, I'm going to have a negative 10x minus 40y equals negative 30. Okay? You're going to check that you have two things that have the same coefficient but opposite signs, which I'm good, which means I can come in and I can add to eliminate. Okay? Well, 10x plus negative 10x, that cancels. I got 0. 40 plus negative 40, oh, well, that also cancels, gives me 0. And 30 plus negative 30 also cancels and gives me 0. I've got 0 equals 0, which is a true statement. So this right here would be infinite solutions. All right, last one in elimination, number 9. Okay, right now nothing matches, but I know if I multiply, ooh, actually I do have two things that match. I missed this. These 9s match, but they're both negative. So if I come multiply this top equation by negative 1, it'll make that positive, and then we'll have opposite signs. So I'm going to have 2x plus 9y equals 25. My bottom equation is going to stay the same. And now that I've got two things with the same signs but opposite coefficients, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add to eliminate. Okay? Well, 2 plus negative 4 is going to give me a negative 2x. My y's are going to cancel, and I'm going to get 25 plus negative 23. That's a negative 2. Divide both sides by a negative 2. And I'm going to get x equals 1. Okay? You also have to find your y. So I'm going to go back to my top equation. I'm going to rewrite it, but instead of an x, I'm going to use a 1. And I'm going to have to come in here and actually solve this problem. So I'm going to have negative 2 minus 9y equals negative 25. Oh, y'all, sorry. This 2 should have been a positive, which would have made that negative. That was my fault. So that's going to be negative, and that's going to be positive. Now I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I'm going to have a negative 9y equals negative 27. Divide both sides by a negative 9, and you're going to get y equals 3. Write your answer as an ordered pair, so I'm going to have negative 1, comma 3. All right, on 10, 11, and 12, they didn't tell you which way to use it. They're going to let you choose, okay? So I'm going to figure out, is it set up for elimination or if it's set up for substitution? Well, number 10, there's not any variables by itself, so it's set up for elimination. I'm going to go find two things that match. We all know y's match, but they don't have the, they have the same signs. So I'm going to go multiply everything up here by a negative 1 to give them opposite signs. So that's going to be a negative 7x minus 2y equals negative 24. I'm going to rewrite my second equation. And now that I have two things with the same coefficient but opposite signs, I know that I can add to eliminate. I'm going to get a 1x. My y's are going to cancel, equals 6. If I divide both sides by 1, that tells me x equals 6. I have to go and substitute this back in so I can solve for y. So I'm going to rewrite my top equation. I'm going to have negative 7 instead of an x, parentheses 6, plus 2y equals 24. Okay? 7 times 6, that's 42, plus 2y equals 24. I'm going to subtract my 42 from both sides. And I'm going to get 2y equals negative 18. I'm going to divide both sides by a 2, and I'm going to get y equals negative 9. Okay, last thing you got to do, write your answer as an ordered pair. So I'm going to have 6, comma, negative 9. All right, 11. 11 is set up for substitution because this y is all by itself. So I'm going to go put that in for y. To make my life a little bit easier, go ahead and put a 1 in front of that y. So when we substitute, we know what we're distributing. Okay, so I'm going to have negative x minus 1, parentheses, negative 3x plus 15 equals negative 9. Okay, I'm first going to come and distribute my negative 1. So I'm going to have negative x plus 3x minus 15 equals negative 9. I'm going to combine my like terms. If you want to put a 1 in front of here, you can. When I combine these, I'm going to get a 2x minus 15 equals negative 9. I'm going to add 15 to the other side, and I'm going to get 2x equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, and you're going to get x equals 3. All right? Well, my 3's got to go back into this top equation so I can solve for y. So my calculator, I'm going to have negative 3 parentheses 3 plus 15. When I put that in my calculator, I should get 6. Okay? So that tells me y equals 6. Write your answer as an ordered pair. I'm going to have 3, 6. All right, number 12, I don't have any variables by themselves. It's set up for elimination. I got to have two things that match. The easiest way to go about this is just flip-flop your coefficients. So I'm going to multiply my top one by 8 and my bottom one by 7. Okay, and they already have opposite signs, so I don't need to change my signs. So I'm going to have a negative 56x minus 40y equals negative 64. And then here, I'm going to have a positive 56x minus 21y equals negative 17 times 7 gives me negative 119. Okay, we're going to check that we have two things with the same coefficient but opposite signs, which we do. So that means we can go ahead and add to eliminate. Okay, these guys are going to cancel. I'm going to have a negative 61y equals negative 64 plus negative 119. That gives me negative 183. I'm going to divide by a negative 61. And I'm going to get y equals 3. Okay? But we also got to go back in and find x. So this is going to go into my top equation for y. I'm going to have to rewrite this guy and actually solve it. I'm going to have negative 7x minus 5 parentheses 3 equals negative 18. Well, 5 times 3, that's a negative 15. Oh, sorry, not 18, y'all. That's an 8. That's my fault. Okay, so I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And we have a negative 7x equals again, this is a negative 8. I missed that. So I'm doing negative 8 plus 15, sorry, equals 7. Divide both sides by a negative 7. And I'm going to get x equals negative 1. Okay? Make sure to go write your answer as an ordered pair. So you're going to have negative 1, 3. All right, on this last section, we just got to write the word problems. Okay? So we are going to look at, okay, number 13. It says Molly's Custom Kitchen Supplies sells handmade forks and spoons. It costs the store $170 to buy the supplies to make a fork and $130 to buy the supplies to make a spoon. The store sells forks at $5.60 and spoons for $5.40. Last April, they spent a total of $37.90 on supplies. Okay, there's one of my totals. Okay, on materials, okay, or supplies. So this equation needs to be all about supplies. And they sold the finished products for a total, there's my other total of $147.20. So that's talking about my profit. So I need another equation all about profit. Okay, well the two things we're talking about, y'all, we're talking about forks and we're talking about spoons. So let's see how much it costs in supplies for a fork. Well, the supply for a fork is $1.70. And the supply for a spoon is $1.30. So I'm going to have 1.7 for a fork, so 1.7F plus 1.3Y equals $37.90. On this guy right here, I want to know how much money I make. The profit for a fork is $5.60 and a spoon is $5.40. So I'm going to have 5.6F plus 5.4Y, okay? If you can set this up, that's all I want you to do on this one. I just want you to be able to set this up, okay? If you wanted to solve it, you could use elimination, but there'd be a lot of crazy fractions and decimals going on, so we're just going to leave them how it is, okay? 15 we're going to solve, and 14 we're going to solve, okay? 14, it says Kristen spent $131 on shirts. Well, I'm going to bet you that that's a total. So I'm going to set one of my things equal to 131, and this equation needs to be all about shirts. Fancy shirts cost 28, and plain shirts cost 15. Okay, so actually 131 is talking about shirts, but it's really talking about money. Okay, if she bought a total of 7, there's my other total, so 7 is talking about total shirts. How many of each did she buy? Well, y'all, the two things we're talking about are fancy shirts and plain shirts. So my fancy shirts plus my plain shirts should equal 7. And a fancy shirt is 28, so 28F plus 15P equals 131. Okay? Now I'm going to come in here and actually solve this. This is set up for me to do elimination. But I don't have anything with the same coefficients but opposite signs. But I know I can multiply this bottom equation by negative 28, and then I'll be good to go. So I'm going to have a negative 28F minus 28P equals, I got to do 7 times negative 28. I'm going to get negative 196. Okay, now that these have the same coefficients but opposite signs, I know I can add to eliminate. These guys are going to cancel. I'm going to have 15 plus negative 28, which is going to give me a negative 13P equals, I'm doing 131 plus negative 196. That's going to be a negative 65 divided by a negative 13, and I'm going to have P equals 5. So this means I bought 5 plain shirts. Well, if I only bought 7 shirts, that means that if I already bought 5 plain, I can only buy 2 fancy. All right, last one, number 18. Bill Legg is the place kicker for his high school football team. Last season, he kicked 38 times and never missed. Okay, I'm going to bet that's a total. So I'm going to set this equal to 38, and that's the number of times he kicks. Each field goal is 3 points, and each touchdown or point after touchdown is 1 point. Okay, he had a total of 70, so 70 is his amount of points. How many field goals and extra points did he win? Well, the two things we're talking about are field goals and extra points. All right, so the total, so I'm going to have field goals plus my extra points are going to give me my 38 kicks. Well, now I got to talk about a points. Well, a field goal is 3 points, and an extra kick is 1 point, so I'm going to have my 70, okay? I'm set up to solve with elimination. I don't have anything that matches, but I can multiply this top equation by a negative 3, which will give me the same coefficient but opposite signs. So I'm going to have a negative 3F minus 3E equals negative 3 times 38. That's a negative 114. My bottom equation is going to stay the same. And remember, we're going to come in here, we're going to add to eliminate. My F's are going to cancel. I'm going to have a negative 2E equals negative 114 plus 70, negative 44. When I divide both sides by a negative 2, this tells me that I kicked 22 extra points. Okay, well, I only kicked 38 times, so if I do 38 minus 22, that means I kicked 16 field goals.